Hello everyone, welcome back to the Teamcenter interview preparation series. Today we are starting ITK, the integration toolkit, and this is a big one. This is where you go from being a Teamcenter user or configurator to actually writing code that builds on top of Teamcenter. Let's get into it. Before we jump in, here is what we are going to cover today. We will start with what is ITK, the definition, purpose, and scope, then ITK architecture, how it fits in the Team Center stack, after that, core ITK modules, the key building blocks, then the ITK data model, objects, type, and tag, and we will close with sessions and error handling, which is super important. Alright, let's get started. So, what exactly is ITK? ITK stands for Integration Toolkit. It's Siemens official API for Teamcenter. It's written in C and C++, and it gives you programmatic access to everything in Teamcenter. Think of it this way. Everything you can do in the Teamcenter Rich client, like creating items, managing workflows, handling revisions, setting properties, all of that can be done through code using ITK. Now, here are the four key characteristics you need to know. First, it's always server side. This is one of the most important things to get right. ITK does not run as a standalone program and it's not directly called from a client application. ITK code always executes inside Teamcenter server process. In four-tier architecture, your SOA services run server side and they internally invoke ITK APIs. The client does not touch ITK directly. Second, it's C based. The core ITK is ANSIC with a procedural interface. You call functions, not methods on objects. Siemens also provides C++ wrappers, sometimes called TC++ or TC Foundation, but the core API is C. Third, it's modular. ITK is organized into functional modules, each responsible for a specific domain. AOM for object operations, GRM for relationships, BOM for structure management, and so on. Fourth, every function returns an error code. This is not optional. You must check the return value after every ITK call. We will cover exactly how to do this when we get into the session and error handling section. So, in summary, ITK is your programmatic gateway to the Teamcenter server. Master this and you can build anything on Teamcenter. Now, let's look at how ITK fits into the overall Teamcenter architecture. I have laid this out as a four-layer stack. At the bottom is the database, Oracle or Microsoft SQL Server, where all Teamcenter data is physically stored. Above that is the Teamcenter business logic layer, the core server that manages all rules, validations, and data access. Above that is the ITK API layer. This is where you work. The modules AOM, GRM, BOM, workflow, user service, and many more all live here. And at the top, your custom application or integration code. Now, the key point I want to highlight here is you don't need to individually load or initialize each module before using it. ITK modules like AOM, GRM, BOM are implicitly available once your session is initialized. So the correct pattern is you initialize a session using either ITK auto login, which is the most common approach in modern Teamcenter environments, or for explicit login, ITK initialize text services followed by POM login user. Once the session is active, all ITK modules are available for use. When you are finished, you clean up by calling ITK exit module, which is set to true. Let's look at the six core ITK modules. AOM, Attribute Object Model. This is the most important module. AOM deals with reading, updating, locking, saving, and deleting Teamcenter objects. Almost everything you do with persistent data goes through AOM. We will go deeper on this in the next slide. GRM, Generic Relationship Manager. GRM handles typed relationships between objects. Want to link a dataset to an item revision? Use GRM. Want to find all objects related to a specific object? Use GRM. BOM, Bill of Materials. BOM lets you work with product data structures in code. Open BOM windows, traverse BOM lines, find parent-child component relationships. Workflow. Use the workflow module to interact with Teamcenter processes and tasks programmatically. Query task status, assign task, perform actions. The next one is TC underscore file, file management. When you need to upload or download files and datasets, TC file handles the FMS, ticket generation, and volume operations. The last one is user. User and group services covers session context, current user identity, and group and role information. These six are the foundation. Let's spend a moment on AOM. Let's start with object creation. AOM allocate tag. It only allocates a tag handle in memory. It does not create a database record. So to actually create a persistent object in Teamcenter, you use one of these two functions. TC type create object. It takes two parameters, type name, which is the object type as a string, and ampersand tag. That's an output parameter. The ampersand means it's a pointer, so the function writes the created object tag back into that variable. Use this when you want to create any typed Teamcenter object by passing the type name. The second one is item create item. It takes six parameters. ID is the item ID, name is the item name, type is the item type, revision is the first revision ID, then ampersand item underscore tag and ampersand revision underscore tag are the two output parameters. The function writes the new items tag and its revisions tag back into those variables. Use this specifically when creating an item together with its first revision in one call. Now for the other essential AOM functions you need to know. AOM refresh. It takes two parameters, the object tag and a lock flag. Pass lock as true to lock the object for editing. Pass false to just refresh its data without locking. Always lock before you modify anything. AOM save with extensions. This is the preferred save function. It triggers business modeler rules and exit procedures. Always use this over the plain AOM underscore save. AOM unlock. Always call this after saving. Leaving objects locked blocks the other users from editing them. AOM ask value string and AOM set value string. These read and write string properties on an object. Remember, the object must be locked before you set any values. AOM delete object. It deletes the object. It must be locked first. So the core cycle to remember is lock, modify, save and unlock. Every AOM operation follows this pattern. Now let's talk about the ITK data model, how Teamcenter objects are represented in code. The most fundamental concept is tag underscore T. Tag underscore T is a runtime handle, an integer identifier that uniquely refers to a persistent Teamcenter object within a session. Every ITK function that operates on an object takes a tag underscore T. Null tag value 0 means null or invalid. Always check for null tag before using any tag underscore T you receive. Business object. Every persistent class in Teamcenter is a business object. Item, dataset, item revision, form. Each is a business object with defined properties and operations. BOM object. This is the root parent class from which all persistent Teamcenter objects inherit. BOM application object is the next level. and all the common types like item, dataset, form, and folder inherit from that. BMIDE types. The types you create in Business Modular IDE are fully accessible at runtime via ITK. If you built a custom type, my part, with a custom property, you can read and write that property via AOM at runtime. Let's move to session and error handling. This section is critical. Let's start with the session lifecycle. Option A, auto login, the most common modern approach. You simply call ITK auto login. This reads the login credentials from the environment or configuration automatically. When finished, call ITK exit module. Option B, explicit login. Call ITK initialize text services first, then POM login user, do your work, then POM logout user, and ITK exit module at the end. There is no need to initialize individual modules before using them. They all are available once the session is established. Now, error handling. Every ITK function returns an integer called iFail. If iFail equals ITK OK, which is 0, the function succeeded. Any other value means an error. The pattern is always look like this. Notice MEM underscore free at the end. When ITK returns strings, that memory is heap allocated and you own it. Free it with MEM free to avoid memory leaks. The 4 rules of clean ITK code. Always check iFail after every call. Log before modifying. Unlock after saving. Free all heap strings with MEM underscore free. Modules are implicitly available after session init. No per module login is needed. Let me walk you through GRM. The concept is simple. A typed relation has a primary object, a relation type, and a secondary object. The relation type defines what kind of connection it is. TC is referenced by is a common built-in example. Key GRM functions. GRM create relation creates a typed relationship between two objects. GRM find relation type gets the relation type tag by passing the type name as a string. GRM list secondary objects only. Given a primary and relation type, get all secondaries. GRM list primary objects only. The reverse. Given a secondary, find all primaries. GRM delete relation. Deletes a specific relation instance. GRM is everywhere in Teamcenter integrations. Anytime you are linking objects together, GRM is your tool. Alright, let's wrap up day 16. Here is what we covered today. ITK is Siemens official C++ API running server side. In 4-tier, SOA services invoke ITK internally. It's not called from clients directly. Every Teamcenter object has a tag underscore T handle. Null tag means null. Always check before using. AOM is the most critical module. Use TC type create object or item create item to create objects. Master the lock, modify, save, unlock cycle. Every ITK function returns int iFail. Always check against ITK underscore OK. Never skip error handling. GRM manages typed object relationships. BOM handles structures. Free heap strings with MEM underscore free. ITK modules are available after session init. No per module loading step is needed. That's all for day 16. Thank you for watching. See you in day 17.